Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be a contest entry for Steve Carlson's 1,000 subscribers contest. Congratulations, Steve. Well deserved. I know there's going to be a lot more to come. If you don't know Steve's channel, most of you probably do, but in case you don't, I'll leave a link in the description box. Very entertaining channel. He routinely puts up a video every Sunday morning that's regular view. I think he's like a vampire. He barely sleeps, gets up in the middle of the night and makes vinyl community videos, but very entertaining channel, lots of great stories, shows a wide range of music from all over the world. He's very curious, always willing to learn and explore, king of the funny subtitles, just a great channel, great guy. He's been a fantastic asset to the vinyl community. So congratulations once again, Steve. Now, for his contest, Steve asks us to show 5 go-to albums that we can always listen to. He says it's the easiest contest ever. I beg to differ. If you're like me and tend to not be listening to those old favorites too often, but more listening to something new or kind of at least newish to you, it's a bit challenging. Plus, if you're like me, I've listened to a lot of my old favorites. They have their place in the collection, but I've kind of played them a lot back in the day. They're not something I pull out too often now, but definitely have their place in the bins, in the racks, in the shelves. But so this had me kind of scratching my head. Plus, he said no compilations. That's another little wrinkle. But I settled on 5, which I will get to now. And they all seem to be albums I have multiple copies of, which leads me to believe maybe they are my go-to albums. Some of these I've shown before, but that's the definition of go-to albums. They're your perennial favorites. So I'm going to start off with some reggae. Reggae is kind of what my channel is known for. This is a dub album that should be in everybody's collection that has any interest in reggae or dub. This is my original CD copy. Augustus Pablo, King Tubby Meets the Rockers Uptown, originally released around early to mid-70s. CD copy on Shanachie, plus my vinyl copy. It's early 80s pressing, US pressing, or Canada pressing actually, Message label. Still got a price sticker from Reminiscing Records on there, $5.99. Nice copy. I always like that cover art. This is Augustus Pablo melodica instrumentals, which are then taken to King Tubby's studio, where they are remixed in a dub format. Many of these originally appeared as Jacob Miller vocal tracks. One of my favorite tracks on here is Young Generation Dub, which has got this fantastic horn refrain that they kind of tease out for about a minute or so and then hit you with the full blast of it. Just awesome stuff. Should be in any collection of anybody that has any interest in reggae and dub. This is definitely an album I've shown before. Laura Nyro, Eli and the 13th Confession. One day I'll find a copy without the ringware that it seemingly came off the printing presses with. And of course I have 2 copies of this one. This one is on the Columbia 2i. And I've got another one kind of on the later Columbia label, and it includes the lyric sheet. Fantastic singer-songwriter, mixes soul, R&B, jazz, that kind of brill-building pop, kind of show tunes, somehow blends it into this dazzling melange. Just a fantastic singer-songwriter, beautiful. Could listen to this all day, every day, happily. Here's another one I've definitely shown before, and I actually have 3 copies of this album, if you can believe it. It's a local album out of Vancouver, Canada, by the Poppy family. Originally came out in 1969. Local, so you do run across it here. I've thrifted all these copies. This is kind of the version more typically seen here. The Poppy family featuring Susan Jacks. They were a group, as I said, out of Vancouver, Canada. Susan Jacks grew up in Haney, BC, which is not that many miles over that way, as I'm pointing. Just kind of on the other side of the river from me and a little bit down. Not that many miles as the crow flies. She grew up there, small town on the other side of the river, kind of rural. There's the group there. Kind of a mix of light psychedelia, kind of sunshiny pop, I guess you would say. but kind of melancholy, a bit of country, bit of pop, with the kind of dreamy lead vocals of Susan Jacks. Susan Pesclovich, she was born, married Terry Jacks. They had their first gig in the city of Hope, British Columbia, which is just down about 45 minutes down the highway from me. And added the Satwant Singh and Craig McCaw on sitar and percussion to give it more of a psychedelic feel. Also have, this copy is on the Blue London label. Also have it on the Black London label, couldn't resist. And then I finally found it on, I don't know if this is the American cover, but there is an alternative cover. Hardly ever see this up here where the band was from. The other version must have been more common, but finally found this one with the whole group on the cover. Not the best shape on the cover, but the vinyl is good. Blue London label again. The Poppy Family. 1969 this came out. This featured the hit song Which Way You Going, Billy, which hit #1 in Canada, hit #2 in America, was only kept out of the #1 spot by some song called The Long and Winding Road or something, by some band called the Beatles. Too bad. But big hit for the group. Billy was actually Susan's brother. Later on, she developed kidney difficulties, and he actually gave her his kidney transplanted. But she's still around, still in the area, but has been undergoing some health struggles in recent years. And her and Terry divorced in the early 70s. Next up, another reggae one of my all-time favorite albums. I've actually picked up I'm going to say a semi-grail in this album. I had it, this was first introduced to me in the 1990s, about 1996 when it came out. Picked this up, my local HMV, Heart of the Congos, the Blood and Fire edition. This was expanded into a 2-disc reissue from the original 1977 Jamaican release. Heart of the Congos, absolutely magnificent album produced by Lee Scratch Perry at the height of his powers at the legendary Black Ark studio, throwing in splashes of echo and reverb, mooing cows, rattling chains, everything else he could think of into the mix, and the glorious unearthly harmonies of the Congos, Cedric Myton and Roy Johnson. Just a magnificent album, definitely in my all-time top 10 reggae albums. It's actually one I purposely do not listen to that often. I never want to get tired of it. I still remember playing that Blood and Fire CD the very first time and just being floored by the magnificence of it, the sound, the textures. Repeated listens, I would hear different things in the mix I'd never noticed before. I had this on vinyl on a recent edition from VP Records, 2LP edition. This came out 2008. Might hang on to this one. It's got a second LP of tracks from some other albums, not all of which I have on vinyl. So might hang on to that, but I was never kind of satisfied with it. Sound quality wasn't quite there. And for an album that special to me, I wanted it on the some kind of a vintage pressing. The original Jamaican pressings, you're getting into some serious money. You're not going to get anything in decent shape for less than $100, and some, depending what pressing, considerably more. But I did just receive this week. Semi-grail pickup. It isn't the pressing I would dream of, I would say, but it's a vintage pressing. It's kind of the earliest affordable one. It's in immaculate condition, so I'm very pleased to have this. This is from 1980, Heart of the Congos. This is the first UK pressing on the Go Feet label from 1980, so just a couple of years from the original release. Just immaculate condition on this one. Paid a few bucks for this, nowhere near what the Jamaican ones go for, but fantastic to have this at last. Last up is an album, again, I guess I have 4 copies of. It's going to be no shock to anybody. The Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. This is a 40th anniversary CD edition I picked up some years ago. A&B Sound, local music chain, when they closed out, they had a huge sale blowing out all their inventory. Nice crushed velvet cover. Comes with a DVD as well. Got that one. I also have this on the, and I'll have to do a sound comparison on these. I've got the brown cover on Brother Records from the early 70s. I've also got it in the twofer with Carl and the Passions, So Tough. Here, this is actually one of the better sound quality editions to go for. I'll have to compare these. And the copy that means the most to me is one I bought with my mom in the early 80s. We would go to flea markets. Back then, you would have the odd table of these old hippies selling off some of their old records for $1 or $2. We would be looking for mainly like surf records, Jan and Dean, that kind of thing. I showed Jan and Dean in my recent finds video. And one we picked up that time was the Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. You can see cover's not in great shape, lots of ring wear, it's held together by tape, lots of fine scratches on the vinyl, but plays beautifully. Capital Rainbow, as near as I can tell, this is an original Pet Sounds. Wouldn't it be nice? Just a magnificent album. Didn't know what we know now about the making of this album. The Wrecking Crew, the host of players, you know, Van Dyke Parks and everybody contributing lyrics. It's a remarkably personal album for all that, for all the work, for all the number of people that went into making this album. It's magnificently personal, even intimate, I would say. Just maybe that's a reason it's such a favorite. Everybody can relate to those emotions coming forward in that music. Just a magnificent album. I would never say it's overrated. So that is my entry for your contest, Steve. Hope you enjoyed. Congratulations once again, well deserved, and peace.